Greetings, fellow gamers. Most of you know me as someone who is half decent at finding obscure metroidvania games, and I am once again back with another video to solidify that infamy. You see, I recently came across a relatively unknown game called Hollow Knight, and after spending about 10 minutes playing through it, I just knew I had something special on my hands. Given the small number of reviews the title has on Steam, and as a channel that prides itself in shedding light onto the lesser-known metroidvania releases, I figured it was my solemn duty to inform you about this little gem of a game in the hopes that you'll also give it a shot and witness firsthand the wonders its brilliance bestowed upon me. Now, under normal circumstances, I'd have made a full gameplay review about it, but just as I started writing it, something kept bugging me, something deep in my heart of hearts, whispering through the darkness of the great beyond, telling me there was more to this game than gameplay, which is normally what games are about. There was something about its world, about its story that called out to me, something hidden behind the crisp visuals and depressing vibes just begging to be revealed. Lore. I heard the word echo inside my mind. Lore. That one word, promising storytelling and world-building magnificence. Right then and there, I knew what I had to do. I had to tell the world of my findings. I had to make a Hollow Knight lore video. As the very diligent and methodical genius that I am, I first had a quick look across YouTube to make sure no coverage of the game's story and history had been created, and once I was pleased with the lack of content, I decided it was time for me to share my knowledge with the unsuspecting masses. Having spent about 2 hours with the game, I am confident enough that I have a strong grip not only on the basic lore of this masterpiece, but also on the hidden aspect of it. The images behind the images, the words behind the words, if you will, proving once and for all how insightful I am, despite my family, friends, co-workers, random strangers, and lack of any significant life achievements saying otherwise. But in order for these hidden parts to make sense, we need to go back to the basics and understand the core story of Hollow Knight. Thus, without further ado, let's dive into it. Hollow Knight tells the story of Ash Mustard, also known as the Pale Boy due to the bleak complexion of his skin as a result of sitting in his room and playing video games all day instead of going out to spend time with his friends. But this lifestyle is about to come to an end, because Ash is on the precipice of a grand journey. You see, Ash is now 10 years old, which means he's no longer a child and is fully prepared to go out and travel across the world in search of the legendary 151 charms, a collection of small sigils of no actual worth which will however look dope on his bedroom wall. Thus, Ash packs his bag with all essentials, namely his Game Boy, a second hat in case something happens to the first one, as well as $10 he managed to save for the journey, and prepares to leave. Ash's mother strongly objects on this mission, stating that he's just a little kid who can barely wipe himself, but Ash quickly tells her to get off his case because he's 10 years old and he no longer needs her, just like he never needed his dad, who left right around the time Ash was born in order to get a pack of cigarettes but never returned. Before he leaves the house, he decides to give his friend Hornet of the neighboring Silksong town a call to see if she'd like to join him on this journey, but she doesn't respond, which he kind of expected since she has been ghosting him for the past 6 years. With a brave new world expanding before him, Ash, full of hope and excitement, embarks on his quest to get the charms. It's not long after he does so that he gets lost in the neighboring woods due to never having really left the house up until that point, which is where he meets an odd stranger named Alucard. While a bit wary of him at first, they end up bonding over their shared hatred of their fathers. Ash for being abandoned at birth, and Alucard because his father, Dracula, pulled an epic troll move when he decided to give him his own name backwards, which I will probably do as well when I become a father. Either that or I'll name the kid after the channel, we'll see. Now no longer alone, Ash is ever more confident that he will manage to get all the charms with the help of his good friend Alucard, who is secretly just keeping Ash around as a potential food source since he's actually, you guessed it, a struggling YouTuber who can barely afford to eat and has his eyes on the boy's $10. And so our adventure begins, an adventure full of excitement, hardship, wholesomeness, and intense drama which, as every good story, will show us that the true 151 charms were the friends we made along the way. Now, as every good video that respects itself does, the hidden lore I mentioned in the title will be included in another video which I'm expecting to have ready sometime in the next lifetime. So do keep an eye out for that one because it is most likely going to be very mediocre, which if you really think about it means that it's better than half the videos out there, and I'm nothing if not a glass half full kind of guy, so that's fine by me. Happy April Fools, fellow gamers, and if you feel like this video wasted a few minutes of your life, remember that you can share it with others so that they can have their time wasted as well. Until next time, Soulsborne Seeker out!